Apple is about to change everything. WWDC is going to be the most important Apple event since the introduction of the iPhone. It's also scheduled to be one of the longest events in Apple history, jam-packed with announcements for new software, several new Macs, and yes, even one more thing. You gotta stay tuned because I wanna tell you all about it. But no matter what is announced at WWDC, you need to make sure you're using a VPN on all of your devices, and there's no better VPN than private internet access. And what more can you ask for? It's fast, simple, low cost, and most importantly, secure. How does it do all that? Well, it starts by being 100% open source and open to the public, so you know exactly how your data is being used, and private internet access never keeps any logs. And private internet access is ready to meet that demand by not slowing down. Private internet access has servers in more than 83 countries and in every US state. In fact, on my recent trip to Japan, private internet access allowed me to stay secure when connecting to multiple different Wi-Fi networks, and also allowed me to easily access US websites and get on US landing pages for websites. And I didn't even know that was going to be a problem until I tried to load up YouTube and I was getting all like this information in Japan, but with private internet access, I switched back to US server and I was back on my own algorithm. But that handy feature isn't just for travel, it's for those staying at home too, and it also means you can open up the power of your streaming services by getting fresh new content catalogs, so you can always have something to binge on Netflix, which is almost as good as going on your own vacation. For Greg's Gadgets viewers, you get 83% off, that's only $2.03 a month, plus you get 4 months extra for free. To learn more and to get a special discount, check out the link in the description, and thank you so much to Private Internet Access for keeping my browsing data secure and also for sponsoring this video. All right, let's break down what to expect at WWDC this year, and yes, I think this other stuff is very important before we get to the inevitable conclusion, the cliffhanger that everyone wants to hear about. Apple's headset. But don't skip ahead, because while the headset is exciting, there's more immediate updates that will actually impact how you use your current devices. And these are gonna be out really soon, right? That's the new software in the form of iOS 17, watchOS 10, and macOS 14. Now, while in previous videos I didn't have a lot of information or updates on these software updates, that has now changed, and we now have reports that these next updates are going to be more radical than initially thought. For iOS 17, this update could introduce some much-needed improvements and changes to the way we use our phones. First on that list is a new revamped control center with a new user interface, and perhaps one that is more powerful and more customizable rather than the huge list of grid-like features that really make the interface kind of clunky when you start adding too many options into Control Center. It could definitely use a revamp. Another big change to the user interface is apparently iOS 17's introduction of a new smart display mode that will turn your iPhone into a smart display when you charge it and put it in landscape mode. Think of it like a Google Home or an Alexa display that can show you a list of things like calendar appointments, notifications, and weather, and possibly some other uses for it, right? Like maybe it can show you entertainment or give you quick access to music or videos. I think this feature especially makes sense for bigger screens like the iPad, where they can be docked easily to turn into a smart home display when they're not in use. As for app-specific updates, we should expect updates to the Wallet and Find My app, as well as Apple creating a new journaling app that will natively integrate data from apps and apparently will work with location-based data, and that will be a way to, I guess, or how it's being described is that like if you're with your friends or work colleagues, it could automatically, I guess, enter that information into the journaling app or maybe make suggestions based on your location data. One interesting rumor is that iOS 17 may actually be the first version of iOS to allow sideloading of apps, so you don't have to go through Apple's App Store to download apps. Apparently, though, this will be a region-specific feature, only available to iPhones sold in Europe, because apparently there's some laws there that might require the iPhone to allow alternatives to their own App Store, so it'll be kind of interesting to see if that does come to fruition, and it may make European iPhone models kind of more like sought after. I'm kind of curious to see how that plays out. Now, for macOS 14, unfortunately, there aren't many rumors about what is being added this year, and unfortunately, it is rumored to be a lighter update that maybe will add some iOS features to the Mac, kind of like how we've been trending with past macOS releases. But the opposite can be said for the new watchOS 10, which is rumored to be the biggest overhaul to watchOS yet. Mark Gurman from Bloomberg is reporting to expect a revamped user interface that would now allow iOS-style widgets on the device's home screen that might look similar to the Siri watch face, and it would include widget stacks just like you can on the iPhone or iPad. The goal of watchOS 10 is to give users quick access to more bits of information rather than having them constantly dig through the honeycomb grid of apps on their home screen. Now, normally, yes, WWDC is a software-based event. It's what you can count on like clockwork every single year. You can expect new software updates, but this year is, of course, different. Apple has multiple hardware products ready to go, and Mark Gurman is now saying there are several new Macs in the works. As for what these Macs are, well, I think for certain we are getting a new 15-inch size of the M2 MacBook Air, which should feature a bigger 15.5-inch display, better speakers, a bigger battery for possibly 24 hours of max battery life, all for around, I assume, a starting price of around $1,500. If you want more info on what to expect for that 15-inch MacBook Air, check out this video I made right here where I go over every other detail. I'm not going to rehash them here. It would be like a whole other video, right? But as for other Macs that might make their way at this event, I think the obvious second choice is an update to the Intel Mac Pro. It's the last Mac that still needs to be updated. Apple has not yet completed the transition to Apple Silicon. This is the last Mac that needs to be updated. It should be updated, and this is the time to do it. And this is a good event for Apple to show it off. It's also a good time to show off a brand new chip. Either the M2 Ultra chip, or maybe even the possibility of Apple skipping over the M2 Ultra chip and just going straight into the M3 Ultra for the Mac Pro. I think this could be a likely way to further separate the Mac Pro from the existing Mac Studio and give it a bigger power advantage than you would normally get from just a chip generation update. I further believe that Apple could incorporate this strategy because I don't think the Mac Pro is necessarily going to be released at WWDC. I think it's just going to be announced, and then Apple will ship this at the end of the year. Apple has done this so many times in the past. During WWDC, they give you a preview of the Mac Pro, and then they release it before the end of the year, usually in December. So if they have that extra time to ship this device and they're just announcing it, it could possibly mean that this is the first M3 model that gets announced. And I think that this Mac Pro is exciting for one area though, and that's how Apple's gonna pitch this Mac desktop to us. I feel like there is a missing story here, and there needs to be some sort of additional options like storage or memory expandability, or the option for beefier graphics cards, something different than what is offered with the Mac Studio. If it's just a Mac Studio in a bigger box with a newer chip, it kind of shows that this product is useless. Like, it's the modern Apple Silicon world we're living in. If it's literally just a bigger version of the Mac Studio with no expandability, it kind of calls into question the entire existence of the Mac Pro as a product line. So while I don't pretend to know or have all the details here, I am really excited to see this thing finally unveiled, and I'm hoping there are a few surprises in store. Also, again, Mark Gurman says several Macs. Several could also mean updates to existing Macs like the M1 iMac or the M1 Mac Studio, both of which need to be updated to the newest M2 processors. And adding more fuel to the fire, Apple sent out a memo to store employees that next week they will begin taking in trade-ins on the Mac Studio, and the Mac Studio is the highest Mac in Apple's lineup, so that probably means there's either a higher-end Mac Studio or Mac Pro coming out, because what else would you trade in the Mac Studio for? You're not trading in your Mac Studio for a Mac Mini, or you're not trading in your Mac Studio for a MacBook Air. That wouldn't make sense. You would have more value in the Mac Studio than some of those computers. Well, based on Apple's trading values, maybe that wouldn't be true. But yes, it means there's a better thing coming out. All right, finally, let's get to the show-stopping announcement. Yes, I kept this for the end to keep you watching. Did you skip ahead? I hope you didn't skip ahead. Or did you stop watching? Well, if you stopped watching, I guess I'm not talking to you. All right. The Apple headset. Apple themselves is now fully, and I mean, yes, fully teasing that there's a headset coming out. Apple has tweeted out taglines for their event like Code New Worlds or Dawn of a New Era. If this is not hinting to the new Apple virtual reality / augmented reality headset, I don't know what is. Adding further fuel to the fire, video game developers for No Man's Sky and Beat Saber both tweeted out hints that June 5th is going to showcase some sort of Apple headset. The writing is right there on the wall. This Apple VR headset, it's coming out. It's going to be announced on June 5th. A new Apple product category. This does not happen every day. I am excited. And even though we don't have a leak of the exact design, Apple's usually pretty good at keeping that under wraps for a new product category. We do have some leaks on the supposed specs, and these sound kind of insane. So first of all, micro OLED screen technology with a 1.41 inch display with 4,000, yes, 4,000 pixels per inch. I assume that resolution automatically makes this device a retina level display quality on day one, probably meaning the elimination of the screen door effect that is so present on so many of the virtual reality headsets on the market today. And this may sound even crazier than 4,000 pixels per inch, because I don't know how you're going to be able to open your eyes in this headset. 5,000 nits of max brightness. For reference, the iPhone 14 Pro Max display tops out at 2,000 nits of max brightness, so 3,000 nits brighter than the display on the 14 Pro Max. You're gonna blind yourself in this thing. What is this? Of course, this will be powered by an Apple M2 or maybe an M3 chip, depending on what time frame this is actually coming out. And the weird thing is that the headset should be slimmer and lighter than others because there's actually going to be an external battery pack that you're supposed to either clip onto you or put into your pocket while you're using it. But based on reports and from investors and other people trying out this headset, a lot of them are saying it's a mind-blowing, a game-changing experience, and that Apple may actually have cracked the code on making a compelling wearable headset. And I kind of believe them. I feel like Apple is so good at mixing hardware and software where others kind of fail to get that experience right, especially in the early stages. I'm expecting a polished experience for this headset, and apparently you won't even need a remote or a controller to use the user interface. Apparently you can just use your hands, so you can scroll and point and pinch just like you would on an iPhone, except you're not really touching anything. It's all gesture-based, and then you're seeing it take place. It's gonna be interesting. So I think the biggest problem here, if I'm being fair though, for Apple is, these specs make it sound expensive, and rumors are saying that this headset could be $3,000 for the base model. That's very expensive. It is not gonna be a big seller if it really is that expensive. However, I think this is just the starting point for this headset. And while $3,000 may sound like way too expensive of a device for mainstream audiences or mainstream success, I think this product has to start somewhere, and other entries into Apple's products like the Mac or even the original iPhone were expensive products at first. They took years to get off the ground and to become mainstream successes. So this headset probably isn't going to be a mainstream success on day one, but it does have the potential to change everything here for Apple, and I believe it's just the starting point, and that is super exciting. Listen, this tech isn't perfected. It's a new frontier. It'll take years and years and years before or if this thing ever takes off. And as someone who's been reviewing smartphones and computers and laptops that seem almost near perfect at times, with honestly very few problems or very few personal complaints, I, for one, am excited to see what's next and to see if Apple can truly change everything once again, like they've done so many times in the past. June 5th is going to be an insane event either way, so make sure you don't miss a beat by subscribing to the channel to get my raw reactions to Apple's WWDC event. If you want to catch that WWDC keynote, which should take place at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can check out Apple's YouTube channel or their website, and you can find the live stream there. And yeah, let me know, what are you excited for WWDC, and what are you looking forward to the most? Are you actually excited for this Apple headset? Do you think it's going to change the world? Let's talk about it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next video, which should be pretty soon.